There's this idea, and I hear it a lot, that the alt-right hate the blacks, the Mexicans, and the Jews.
Yeah.
What do you say to all that?
I don't see any hate. I think people just want to mostly preserve their race and their culture, and that's true of probably everybody.
Do the alt-right blame the Jews or the blacks or the Mexicans for their downfall?
Do the who?
The alt-right. Do you blame the Jews, the blacks, and the Mexicans for not standing up for your country and allowing it to go out of control?
Well, there's certain problems. Like I would say, like for example, the Israel lobby is a problem. I think when you say like Jews are a problem, there's Jews that are just like regular people doing stuff, and they have nothing to do with the Israel lobby. But like you can say that the Israel lobby is a huge problem. They lobby for us to spend our money supporting them, and we ultimately do. There are movements of like black people who obviously push this white guilt narrative that make the country worse. So I would say that there are cultures within all of those groups that, yeah, are absolutely bad for America, but I wouldn't say that each individual person is a problem. Oh, yeah. And I don't think anybody's saying that.
Right.
Yeah.
What I don't understand, what's the cause of the weakness of white Americans, especially white men, that they allowed it to get...
White guilt indoctrination.
But they have to know that's not real, though. I mean, if someone trying to make you feel guilty, you have sense enough to know that you're trying to make me feel guilty and I'm not falling for it. I have nothing to do with your problem. What was the weakness in white Americans that they fell for it?
Indoctrination is powerful. I mean, especially when you consider that these kids are being told these things about how Columbus was evil and all these things. They're being told that like when they're very small for like 12 years. And then you see that sometimes, most of the time, that's not enough. So like how far left somebody is has a strong correlation with how much time they spend in school, and specifically in the humanities. So when you're talking about people who are like usually around like late 20s to 30s or early 20s, and they've spent their whole life in a system of indoctrination, I mean, it works for the most part, especially on people that are weak-minded.
So why doesn't parents prevent that from happening to the children?
Parents aren't as active in their kids' lives as they should be, and I think that's all part of the deterioration of the nuclear family.
That's amazing, man. So I want to ask this: there are white conservatives, there are alt-right, and there are now the alt-lite. Mm-hmm. Do they all come together at any point and work together?
No. Typical. For me, the real big divide, the actual divide, is between traditional conservatives and the rest of the movement. And the reason is, like, I talk to regular politicians, a guy like, for example, Travis Allen, and he says that, he's like against sanctuary cities, but at the same time, he still wants to open the front door to more illegal immigrants and more refugees and stuff like that. Actually, I don't know if Travis Allen specifically wants more refugees, but I know for a fact that he wants more legal migrants. And that's a big problem, and that's the one thing that we can't compromise on. That's the whole issue. And so traditional conservatives are generally okay with that policy, and that's absolutely not acceptable to me or anyone that I would consider a part of that movement. And I would say that's the hard line, and so that's where the real divide is between those like rhino conservatives and people who are actually trying to save the country.
Do you ever come together with them and debate them or discuss those issues with them?
Sure, yeah. When he walked right up to us because we were at the same rally, and I told him exactly how I felt. And then he actually looked at my friend who was a white guy, and he was like, well, you know, we got to bring him in because Americans won't do that jobs. And he actually owns a business where he's a landscaper. So this whole thing is like, it's very elitist. It's the idea that there's jobs that Americans won't do is offensive.
Yeah,
and it's a lie.
It sure is.
There's jobs that Americans won't do for $5 an hour, sure. But that's how the economy works.
As a white man and now an alt-right, do you feel like the minorities of this country, whatever they are, Mexicans, Jews, blacks, do you feel they hate you as a white man?
I think the indoctrinated ones do, but people in general don't. I mean, there's a lot of people of those different racial factions that are a part of a lot of our groups that we're involved in, and they don't hate me at all. In fact, they don't like white guilt. A lot of black people, I know some of the strongest people who oppose affirmative action are competent black people who hate the idea that they might be given a leg up, not based on their abilities.
That's right.
So indoctrinated people, yeah, sure, there's a lot of indoctrinated people who blame me for existing for their failures, but I don't think that necessarily everybody.